Hey, everyone. This is 372 pages we'll never get back. Mike Nelson here. Connor, how are you?
I'm good, Mike. I am going to hop on a plane later today, so it will give me my chance to test my hypothesis of having this book in your lap as the people approach you to sit next to you, and whether that is a firm shutdown of any attempts at pleasantry or small talk, or whether it will just provoke more of it. So we'll see.
I imagine just a lot of warm recognition. And
Yeah.
You're reading that too? Do you
Yes.
love it?
The hand on the shoulder, and then just like, I don't want to say anything, but just wait until you get to page 116, because station 12 is
Putting down her knitting needles and going, I'm sorry, we have to talk about this.
Yes. Yeah, I would not interrupt you normally, but it is my son's favorite book, my grandson's favorite book, so I am knitting him a girthy black dildo in honor of chapter 5.
Oh, Connor. Right away. Right away. It's so early. It's early for
really
us
is.
while we're recording this too. This is the podcast where we talk about books that we're probably going to hate. We've been through the works of Ernest Cline. We've been through the works of William Shatner, or a work of William Shatner. And we are on the, I would call it the magnum opus of Sean Penn, Bob Honey, who just do stuff. Boy, I don't know. Dive right in.
Yeah, I think we could dive right in. We've got some a lot to talk about. He actually does some stuff this go round.
Yeah, things
confounding all
happen, kind
expectations.
of. Yeah. That's very weird.
They're not good things, but it's indisputable that some stuff happens here.
Yeah. But before we get going, and we have all of our departments, I'm assuming. We have dumb sentence of the week. We have mail.
Yep, and we have our fanfic or reel, which proved very difficult last time. We'll see if people are able to keep that high level up.
Speaking of very difficult, I'd like to challenge you out of the gate. You did the likewise to me last week, and so I'm going to do it now. I noted about, I don't know, halfway through my reading, he started interspersing song lyrics and poetry into it. And now I confess I didn't totally check out every single bit of it to see which was a song lyric and which is him talking as Bob Honey or making his own poetry. But I'm pretty sure that the phrases that I'm going to pick out here are Bob Honey's and not, John Lennon's or or Bob Dylan's. And so the quiz is, I noted that a lot of the lines sounded like they could be the titles to Coronet educational films, which Connor and we have seen more than, Charles Coronet, the founder of Coronet Films. They're the educational shorts that you would see in elementary school, teaching you about hygiene or this or that.
How Billy gets a date type of thing.
Right.
Yeah, we've seen probably 1,000 of them in our lifetime, and evidently that's still like a fraction of the films that Coronet just churned out during the 50s through early 80s.
If you'd like some interesting reading, go look at the Wikipedia article for Coronet Films. It has a complete list of their films, and some of them were taken from that. So this is your quiz. We'll just buzz through them, and I think I'll just answer you right away.
Okay.
So is this a Bob Honey poetry or the title of a Coronet film? Don't be sad. No time to be a kid.
Bob Honey.
No, that is a Coronet film.
What? Oh my God!
Little Bobby's broken toy.
Bob Honey.
That is Bob Honey.
Okay, I was not certain.
A city grows, the skyscraper.
Coronet.
That is correct. Button, belly button.
Coronet.
No, that is Bob Honey. 1960s broken promises.
Oh, that has to be Bob Honey.
That is. Real-time transmissions.
Bob Honey.
That is Coronet.
Wow, that one must have been a high-level one.
The planet of polar cyclones.
Bob Honey.
That is correct. Conducting
a little advanced.
Yeah, conducting a termination.
Coronet.
That is correct. The earthworm Darwin's plow.
Wow. I mean, Bob Honey.
That is Coronet.
Oh my God. Settle down, Coronet.
From moment to malady.
Bob Honey.
That is correct. So That's almost as hard as fanfic, isn't it?
Yeah, that's eyes closed and a dartboard. Wow. Coronet got poetic on some of those. Darwin's plow.
The earthworm, Darwin's plow.
That's incredible. We have to track that one down.
But I got the idea from Belly Button or whatever, and Little Bobby's Broken Toy. Like,
so those
Coronet film right there. No, but yeah, that's Bob Honey.
Bobby's Broken Toy was Coronet, and Belly Button was Sean Penn.
No, both were Sean Penn. Yeah.
Yeah, that's not a compliment to his poetry stylings.
Oh, anyway, boy, we meet a lot of rich characters this time. Should we just dive into Station 6?
Yeah, Station 6. So this is an email, but I'll get it off the top. That we had multiple people write in with their theory about the stations, and you might be able to weigh in more about this, but I think Josh and someone else wrote in that said they thought it was references to the Station of the Cross, the series of significant events on the day of Jesus' crucifixion.
Oh, God, if it is.
He says Christianity recognizes 14 stations, while Bob Honey has 15, making him better, worse than Jesus. He said that needs a whole timeline's worth of settle downs.
I guess. I don't know. I assumed like trains were stopping in on little, areas of his life or something. But yeah, that's as good a theory as any.
Okay. Yeah. But so Station 6 starts with our old friend Spurley Coultier, who was paying Bob a visit. And it started with, I think, one of the worst lines in the books that sort of is meant as a laugh. Bob often thought how consistently the intelligence community lacked intelligence.
Yeah, I had written down the audience. Ooh, he went there.
It's if the satire of Andy Borowitz or Mark Russell in the Capitol Steps are too like toothy and biting for you, I offer up that sentence as a potential white bread balm for your satire needs.
Yeah, I worked in a sort of patchouli-soaked office where I sat on one of those Swedish kneeling chairs and did. Oh wow! I did like phone. I forget what it was, but it was like phone interview things. And the guy next to me, who was like a pony-tailed, pot-smoking dude, said once, oxymoron, like military intelligence, and that's what I thought of when I saw this. I thought of that guy all these many years ago.
Axl Rose's "What's So Civil About War Anyway?"
Wow, deep stuff.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, they're there, and I guess Spurley is trying to. I guess he's purportedly writing some sort of profile about a random person, but he's there, and Bob is suspicious of his motives, and Bob believes that the one way you can tell a intelligence officer is that they have a knife collection. So he begins an exchange. Bob inquires, "Knives? Knives?" asks Spurley. "A knife collection. Do you have one?" And it's early on, but I would have been able to redeem the entire book if they had invoked Crocodile Dundee at some point in time during that exchange.
Right, that was your only chance at enjoying this book, right. And it was passed by.
Yes, I would have been flipping back to this page and smiling at it.
But you quickly was redeemed by the maraschino cherry in water joke. How hard did you laugh at that?
God. It's like something out of that character generator we read last week. It's like it reminded me of how in the Room book, The Disaster Artist, the very first thing that they tell you is that Tommy Wiseau, every time he goes into a restaurant, he orders a glass of hot water.
Yeah, but at this point though, with Bob Honey, because we get more of him, we get more backstory, and we get his travels and all of this stuff, and it's beginning to look like one of those drawings where you cover up everything and you draw feet and then the next person draws something. I get zero picture of who this guy is. Do you? I do not understand.
And we were talking about that last week, and we were looking at the cover of the hardcover book where it's sort of like it's almost like a Rorschach blob, and like you don't want to make any assumptions because the cover could be done completely out of it. But like, is that what we're supposed to be thinking, man? Is that this could be just anyone? It's like he's faceless, but he's all of us type of like.
Yeah, I don't know, but whatever that gag was with the maraschino cherry, well, let's read the text because you think it was a gag. He excuses himself to the kitchen, pours himself a glass of water, and adds a maraschino cherry.
And then he calls to Spurley, water and a maraschino cherry. Without turning his head, Spurley nods affirmatively.
Yeah.
Bob pours him a glass, popping a cherry into it.
I assume that's supposed to be a joke that we all drink. Like, of course I'll have that. He nods without thinking. He doesn't go, excuse me, are you just trying deliberately to be annoying and weird at the same time? Like Sean Penn?
I thought like it should have been like Annie when he said more Vietnam. And, she just wordlessly gets up, gathers her things, and excuses herself and never sees him again.
Yeah, but I did enjoy this. From where he stands, he can see that Spurley has put on a pair of cheaters and is scribbling several notes on a pad with a number 2 pencil. So that is good eyesight. That is eagle-eyed.
It would have. I mean, come on! If you're making quirks happen here, like have him be using a number 3.5. Like Bob had always eschewed the hard lead of the number 2 for the more
But he's soft and wide. Yeah, yeah.
But that's he's putting on his cheaters, and he gets to this delightful sentence. Bob considers eyeglasses a terrific invention, which I thought was if the earlier stuff was Andy Borowitz, this is more Andy Rooney.
It's a good invention. Eyeglasses. They sit on your nose, yet they work for your eyes.
But I just jotted down, I consider Bob an abysmal character. So we were both considering things at this point in the book.
But what you're just getting over the doubled over laughing at the maraschino cherry when you get to this gag that is coming up, where Bob says, Spurley starts questioning him about his work. And he says, honey ink. He's got honey ink. And he's writing it down. Oh, is that C Incorporated? Yes. And he says, I feel like we're getting to the meat and potatoes here, Bob. Bob responds, you're hungry?
Oh, my God.
And so I...
Who's on first?
Yeah. And again, we later get to a scene where Bob is doing a similar thing at length to another interlocutor, to use a word that Sean Penn might use.
Sure.
And you can see that he's trying to annoy the person, but here it sits in isolation. You have no idea if he's a moron or not. And so that got me thinking, and I was curious, like, what is happening here? Is he really that dumb? So I went to the dark web again. Yeah.
Wow.
The
4chan, 8chan, 16chan.
I went to 8chan this time. Wow. I didn't want to.
No, don't go there.
Yeah. And I found the reenactors, the people who flesh out. We've used them before. These people know what we're talking about.
Yeah. It's a common, popular thing that we're brazen about it, but people keep demanding more, so we keep delving into these IRC channels and
the Bob Honey
Discord
community expounded on this moment, and so let's roll that now.
Okay.
Bob Honey is beginning to feel uncomfortable with Spurley Coultier's line of questioning.
And Honey Inc. is your company?
Yes.
I feel like we're getting to the meat and potatoes here, Bob.
You're hungry?
What? Huh? No, meat and potatoes. You honestly don't know what that means?
Well, I was a child carny. I kept my mind focused on cinnamon stick legs and circus mallets.
Okay, well, no matter. It's all water under the bridge.
Wait, all of it is? Like, all matter that exists is water? I'm water? But then if everything is water, how can it go under a bridge which isn't water?
No, but Bob, please.
Bob? You want me to go into water and kind of bob up and down? Well, you did say please.
Oh, no.
Know what? Tell me what to know, and I'll do it.
Wow. Bob, you are fundamentally misunderstanding, like, a lot of things. My 4-year-old was doing the same thing at breakfast. I guess, well, when it rains, it pours.
When it rains, R-E-I-G-N-S, I assume. When it rains, when Pennywise the Clown becomes a ruling monarch, he'll pour, P-O-R-E, I assume, that is, look very closely over things?
Damn it, Bob!
Damn it. Well, okay, I'll begin blocking the path of the river right away.
Oh, honey.
So, there you go. I mean,
very obtuse. He is.
He's not a bright guy. So it is, at least according to these people.
Sure, yeah, but the important thing is that we're all laughing because it's relatable humor. You use a common saying that first graders know, and a grown adult interprets it literally.
Right, because there are some grim subjects here. So to have this very, very light stuff along with the heavy stuff, it just makes a perfect balance.
Right. When I reread this on the plane, I think that the grandma will be sort of just smiling knowingly when I glance over her after reading this section.
When you snicker or suppress your laughs, you're laughing hard into your bald fist. She's going to be like, "It's okay.
Yeah, let it out.
Let it out."
We've all been there.
Oh, all right. What else you got for Station 6?
Well, Station 6. So he observes. We know that he has the superhuman ability to look at a house and size up where the plumbing goes, which sure. But we learn also that he has this ability, which is, I guess, stemming from the same type of ability. In Bob, the lead on paper of Spurley's number 2 pencil scratch stimulates extra striate subcortex synergies in his mammalian brain. His auditory augmentation of reality systems renders words in the rear of his retina with visual vibrations. Scratch by scratch, letter by letter, word by word, did Bob's internal cinema display Spurley's glib taunts of font. And then we get a whole paragraph of he's listening to the letters that Spurley is drawing, like an X-Man would or something, and Spurley is writing claims otherworldly narcissistic skill sets. So Bob is a superhero now.
Yeah, full out superhero.
Yes. It reminded me of Jeff Bridges when he's trying to investigate in The Big Lebowski. He goes, and Ben Gazzara has been writing something while he's been on the phone, and he goes over there and he does the thing where he sort of does a rubbing on the bottom of the page so he can try to see what the impressions were. And Ben Gazzara had just been drawing a penis the entire time.
Yeah. So. A lot of good sentences, by the way. He doesn't fully drop this, but he backs off a little on the alliteration.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I only circled like one. I mean, there's several, but I circled one absurd sentence the entire time.
But this one stuck out as well. It stuck me in the eye, like it was a lead pencil that poked me in the eye. Along the way, he absentmindedly picks up discarded bottle caps, rolling them like raconteurs, figure flipping them through his fingers before sending them soaring with the nimble snap of his thumb.
Dear God.
What is that? What is rolling them like raconteurs?
So the caps are rolling like a bon vivant, like
figure flipping?
Not an expression.
Yeah, and boy, does he have some doozies coming up. If he were here, I don't know that I could resist just that first initial punch right in the face.
Sure.
He'd certainly appreciate it. He's dished them out.
Yeah, exactly. It's karma coming back. We have received emails to the same exact point from people who proclaim themselves otherwise pretty much pacifists or friendly people in the community, but they have something has been awakened in their mammalian brain that makes them want to dish it back out to Sean Penn.
I wondered if you were excited to hear the ring of his ringtone. Did you recognize the song that was playing on that?
Oh, what was it?
It was "Raindrops Are Falling on My Head."
Oh, yeah. I don't know if I picked up on that, but
yeah, a Burt Bacharach song. I don't know why that's again. Maraschino cherries in his water. Burt Bacharach ringtones. You getting a picture of this guy?
This was another good sort of like adding on to the dark web skit, but Spurley is sort of just interrogating him, and for a moment he feels like he's sort of like he's got him dead to rights here because they have this exchange, which makes me believe that Spurley is just as dumb as Bob. Bob says, "My house needs airing out. Sometimes a place can get stale harboring the body of a man." The body of a man, Bob. The body of a man. Oh, now we're cooking. Spurley waits for Bob to break, but Bob says calmly, "Yes, Spurley, the body of a man. Mine." Sometimes the house wants its space. Spurley's disappointment is evident. So Spurley thought he had just like set a Columbo trap for him here, and he was confessing in the dumbest way possible to having killed somebody, like it was a to serve man bit, like from the Twilight Zone.
Yeah. That was so dumb. I didn't even write it down. I forgot about that.
Man. So yeah, he brought up that he might have, the sexual dungeons and all that, and thought that Bob had just confessed right away and into actually doing that.
Yep. So I also have no picture of Cy Sperling or whatever the hell this guy's name is. What is it?
Spurley Coultier,
Spurley
like Dave
Coultier.
Yeah.
So he gets done with his interview with Coultier, and then there's an extended bit where he just goes and kills a woman, right?
Yeah. Well, so Spurley left. He chugs his glass of water, leaving it the cherry at the bottom. I'm going to leave you the cherry, Bob. You might need it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's that. He made the thing. He popped the cherry into the glass. So that's supposed to be a little joke, I guess. But I can't possibly begin to describe what he could be going for here and why the guy didn't drink it. And man, but yeah, before he kills the woman, we got what I wanted to bring back, the boring sentence of the week, which was for me, it was Bob has spent enough time, in fact, thousands of hours, studying animations of double rod pendulums.
Yeah, I was about to bring that up. What is that?
A double rod pendulum. So I looked it up because someone wrote in another email, which we can get to later. But it's like a pendulum with a little pendulum attached to it, so that makes the pendulum take a more like a spirograph.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, I'll read this email now because while we're on the topic. But so Luke wrote in. He said, "I have to point out something so stupid in Chapter 6. Station 6. He says, by the way, I looked and apparently they're called stations because Sean Penn likes trains. So I guess you were right.
Oh, there we go.
Interesting. Anyway, it says in footnote 19, it states that double pendulums are physical systems exhibiting rich dynamic behavior and strong insensitivity to initial conditions. And then Luke says, no, the double pendulum is incredibly sensitive to initial conditions. That's what makes it so chaotic and a dynamical system. Change an initial position by a tiny, tiny amount, and you get a different long-term behavior. You don't need a PhD in physics to know this. The first sentence on Wikipedia on double pendulums is literally, in physics and mathematics, a double pendulum is a pendulum with another pendulum attached to its end, with a strong sensitivity to initial conditions. He said, how can you mess that up? Did anybody copy edit this? And so I went and looked just to make sure. So that's in case you were lost in that thing. He said it was a pendulum with strong insensitivity to initial conditions. And Wikipedia starts by saying that the only reason you would use a double pendulum is because it has strong sensitivity. And so I went to just make sure Luke wasn't messing with us. So I looked at the edit history of that page, and the last edit was like a month ago. And the edit of it was a GIF. Someone added a GIF demonstrating how minor initial condition changes leads to major variance throughout the spirographs of a double pendulum.
What is he up to?
I don't know. I don't know. So he put in that whole full footnote and stuff, and it's just completely wrong. And then Bob has been looking at these GIFs, which are also on Wikipedia, for, I guess, thousands of hours.
Well, you got to do something while you're drinking your maraschino cherry water, I guess.
So yeah, that's so I don't know if all these footnotes contain complete mistruths or what, but that's just another little wrinkle for the Honeyverse. Maybe they work different. Maybe this isn't real life. Maybe this is a parallel universe where this is a signifier like the memento or the top in Inception, that we're not in the real world.
Well, I did wonder, is Spurley even a real person? Are we going to, I mean, I don't care. Who cares? But it's probably, is it just his own conscience or something?
Paranoia.
Yeah, who knows? Who cares? Moreover. but
yeah, so he goes and kills an old woman.
And boy, she deserves death. A 78-year-old woman. She's got lipstick on. And as well, lipstick has no place in aerobics, which he spits out at one point.
Lipstick has no place in exercise, and 2 full feet above the waistline of her tutu, her crinkled lipstick lips, her sun-spotted face, her overly joyous little twinkling eyes. He know how she saw herself, a pop granny. So this woman probably has, grandkids going into like middle school. She's doted upon them their whole life. She's, teaching these classes. She's not, resigned to being old. She's active, but, what a revolting sack of skin.
Yeah, and she thinks this would have been redeemed had she started rapping, just like
Yes.
the Crocodile Dundee gag would have redeemed it. Rapping Granny would have done it for me. But then we get this hilarious laugh line, too. Bob wheels the Pontiac away, finds a local market where the purveyor makes sandwiches from day-old bread. It's just stuff like, he's weird.
Yes.
What a rich world building I'm doing here, huh? There are people who make sandwiches from day-old bread, and that's known and advertised, and so people do that. So he gets a sandwich, and then he goes and kills the woman. This whole scene was so long, I felt like I got bored with this.
Right. He sort of is observing her, but we know this is what he does, and I guess it just sort of meant to drive it home. There wasn't much of a takeaway. I did enjoy this other description of her, though. Her failing eyes, unable to note the puddles of that white cream, Nivea cream, product placement, unabsorbed, that remaining hiding in the troughs and crinkles of sun and aged, ravaged skin, God's portrait of entropy. And it's just like, okay, man, like I flipped to the back cover here and saw your portrait picture. Like your best days are behind you as well. Like what?
But this he has to put this little thing in here. She puts on her nightwear, gets into her little childlike bed, and sets off to sleep with dreams of Cuban bar boys.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, is that he's a granny? We have our picture of a granny and her sun-ravaged face, and then she's doing that. Like that does not fit into my picture of a granny going to bed who just taught an aerobics class. But whatever. I'm
imagining that sort of like that sassy woman who's on like the Hallmark cards. She has a name like.
Oh yeah.
You know who I mean? She also is probably on coffee mugs. That's who I'm imagining doing this. And I don't know. Maybe she had just watched Dirty Dancing 2 Havana Nights and had those Cuban boys in her dreams.
All right. Well, we pull out of Station 6.
Yeah.
And we get to Station 7, Sexual Dungeons.
And so, I mean, we'll lead off. It's a complete tease of a chapter name because it's, it's Spurley Coultier speculating that maybe Bob has a sexual dungeon, which turns out not to be true. Station 5 delivered what it promised, and Sexual Dungeons does not.
Nope.
Yeah. So once again, like we're constantly scanning for these places where the book may be redeemed. Had we gotten a sexual dungeon, I'm willing to improve my opinion of it by 50% or so. But since we did not, hey, like the bar's been lowered.
That is true. We do get once again right away the booger fluttering in her nostril. This is a huge theme, and we can talk about it more at its next appearance. Yep, okay. It does appear again. But here's the thing I wanted to note. I talked to a friend who's an expert on dog breeds and canine physiology. None of the things he says here are true. Which is, in the canine world, only small dogs can mimic such a monster. Small dogs, indeed, are capable of fishy breath. Not so big dogs, who at their worst may expirate the yeasty odor of stale bread. They are predictable in that way. So I don't know if that day-old bread is the yeasty bread is the
right.
sandwiches that he goes in his Pontiac to get at the marketplace. But
what is going through his head? He's doing a taxonomy of dog breath, like to call his ex-wife's stinky morning breath too human, flawed, and plackish, like.
And the word bitch is too flattering, and it's just all it's gross, ugly stuff. Ugh.
He says it takes a special bitch to elicit his commitment. He'd found and delivered his best to a few, most often to women of chub and red hair. Women of chub was my. He
is sticking with that phrase. He hit on a winner, and he is riding it.
But he'd been bitten in the throat each time nonetheless, and considers the word bitch too flattering for anything without canine creds. Delightful.
Yeah,
those he considers only as ugly, ungenerous souls. Footnote 20.
Yeah, we have to talk about these footnotes. This is dark stuff.
Yeah. Wow.
Give him the truth here.
Okay, those he considers only as ugly and generous souls. Footnote 20. Footnote 20, the single word cunts.
Sorry, we should have given you an earmuff warning there.
My God. You skip on down to that and just like swallow deeply and gaze back up to the rest of the text. It's like when something awful happens on the news, and then they're supposed to be like, but in lighter news, like this sixth grader started a lemonade stand, and you're like, no, we're just processing the plane crash, you monsters. Like, let us have some time to recover.
Oh, but you get no time here. So he's a whole sentence of, dog breath and boogers and noses and bitch and C words. And here's another swear. Bob thinks that back to the chubby fucking redhead whose ghost still whorishly haunts his bed. We go back to the booger. And then we discover he's sitting on the can. He's in the toilet. And that's where we spend a lot of time in these upcoming chapters as well. So we weren't in the toilet enough. We have to literally be on the toilet at this point.
Yeah. And I guess that's going to be a theme too, what with his preternatural ability to discern the plumbing of any house.
Yes. But he says, he makes this odd note there, sitting on the standard toilet. So, and it's not the brand. It's lowercase. So it's not a flat black American toilet standard with straight pipes and a 350 Hemi. It's just a standard toilet.
Yeah.
Like, why don't we just assume all toilets are standard until told otherwise?
Sure. Did he get a Sky Mall Game of Thrones Iron Throne sword chair made into his toilet? Like, that's what I would have assumed unless I was told otherwise.
Right. So he looks at the marble wall and then, thinks about more ugly things. He sees the patterns in the marble, gargoyles and haunted faces. And so, yeah, it's a real plane ride read. So you're in for a treat.
Do you think that, if you're Madonna or if you're Robin Wright, you're racking your brain being like, did I wake up one morning with a booger and he fixated on this for the next 3 decades? Like, what the hell is wrong with this guy?
Yeah, my mother taught an aerobics class at her home. Yeah, wow. Ass.
But he talks about the whorish ghost who haunts his bed, and he says something that reminded me of the Bob Honey creator game. He says, though he dreams assassination upon phrases like me time and my truth, Bob certainly feels no obligation to defile himself in conversation or indulge continued study of a face only beautiful by the standard of mathematical symmetry. So I thought that that second part was actually a somewhat decent burn. And two, he objects to the phrases me time and my truth, but I thought that was very similar to him on the Sean Penn creator, wanting to burn his wife because he was annoyed by her usage of the phrase having to go to the little girl's room, which is something I just thought of. I was like, what's something? Okay, 1, 2, 3, like it took 30 seconds. And so that's...
Well, so the woman who has the Chihuahua, the Tom Waits stand-in woman,
Helen,
she gets obliterated by a helicopter.
Yes,
that falls full force from the sky, crashing through Helen's roof, obliterating Helen. And I just thought Pappy gets way in over his head when he describes the crash itself.
Okay.
Nicky runs from the wreckage, blind, ablaze, and barking throughout his meteoric dash across the street before crashing headfirst into the curb where his incineration croaks, crisps, and collapses him curbside with the immediacy of a grand piano's lid props pull. Anyone have any idea what that means? What is a grand piano's lid props pull?
I guess, when you're watching, my framework of this is Who Framed Roger Rabbit, where Daffy Duck and Donald Duck are playing the pianos. And at some point in time, one of them slams the piano lid down on the other one's head. You know what I mean? And they probably have that little stick that they knocked out to slam the lid shut.
Yeah, and I think that's what he's getting at. But what does literally the words pianos, lid, props, these pull?
Yeah, it's a hard thing to read, but I think it's supposed to, I thought that was a very bad sentence, but it was funny to imagining that Chihuahua doing that because it was very cartoonish. If it's running on fire and then doing the cartoonish and then stiff as a board, fall back, the angel leaves the body type of thing.
Uh-oh, I think you've got Stockholm syndrome. You're starting to say that Sean Penn's dog descriptions are funny.
I don't know if it's meant to be funny. I just this struck me as it was like that seagull that died in Shatlar's book. It was just like, all right, listen, like I'm going to look for a ray of sunshine somewhere. Speaking of Shatlardian, he before the helicopter crashed, he detected Helen Mayo observing him from behind a blind in an upstairs window. He stops in his tracks and stares at the blind for 1, then 2, then 3 full minutes. So we could reenact that if we had time. But
oh dear, that's not good podcasting, but I like the idea.
Sure, but so yeah, the helicopter crashed. So I guess we're left to wonder if he invoked that, if he made it happen. It was sort of like Donnie Darko-ish, I guess. Like the driver was reported to be wearing a turban in a weird little detail.
Yeah, I assume he's being, one of his many misadventures. It's just supposed to be once again a grim joke, I guess. Spurley shows up again, so he interviews him, and then we get to quite a character here. Maybe you have something before that. I was going to jump down to Cheeky Chuck.
Yeah. Oh no. Yeah. Let's hit that guy. I did note that the Cheeky Chuck is the newscaster who shows up to report about this horrible plane crash or helicopter crash.
You want to read some of his jokes?
Sure. So yeah, Cheeky Chuck is narrating, and he's doing the newscaster voice. As for Helen Mayo, they did seek and find remains. Get it? Seek? Get it? No? That's all. On a beautiful sunny day. Did I say sunny? I meant sunny. In either case, she a beauty. Your man in the field, Cheeky Chuck. And I just wrote, like, is this anything other than just someone's, like, first draft? That, like, how did that not, like, it's it's Twitter circa 2009 level puns. Like,
I just wrote, I mean, even Sean Penn had to reread that and say, no. I mean, it's inconceivable. What is he going for here?
Sure, if you're in the business of doing of these awful jokes, they're certainly not breaking any new ground. Like in terms of Seek sounding like SEEK and SUNNI sounding like Sunny, but
it's also when you have, if this is supposed to be his ventriloquist dummy, right? We all hate shallow, empty-headed hairspray newscasters who say dumb things, but they don't say these kinds of things. And when you are putting those insults, the things you want to say, into a ventriloquist dummy's mouth, like, oh, come on, Chucky Cheek, don't say those things. At least have them be things that are worth saying. Like, this is so bad.
Yes. Yeah, I guess that's a good point. All these characters are essentially doing that sort of thing, and they're meant to be someone but it's never the news broadcaster, like, because he would get his mic cut after the first one of them.
Yeah, they don't. Well, anyway, so yeah, it's not a real thing, and then calling him Cheeky Chuck is obviously another maraschino cherry on that shit sundae, so to speak.
I guess it's supposed to call back an era that we just are supposed to assume existed in 2001 through 3, where people were just, making jokes like that. I don't know.
Yeah,
whatever. Let's not dwell on it too far.
Yeah. But I have an artist challenge from this one line.
Okay.
With an expression bordering on ironic scorn. So that's my challenge. Draw that. If you go all the way to ironic scorn, you will be immediately disqualified. So
who is making that expression?
Good luck. I think it might be Bob, or not, Spurley maybe. It's either Spurley or Bob in the thing afterwards. But anyway, artist challenge, an expression bordering on ironic scorn. There you go.
I think that those characters you draw are often have that expression. That's sort of your default.
They're bordering on it. Huh?
This sounds like another thing that is that another sort of ventriloquist dummy. Spurley Coultier comes in and he's suspicious of the woman, because this is Helen Mayo. She's been phoning in all these complaints about Bob, and he's sort of like trying to see if there's any connection, because it does sound pretty suspicious. Not really a coincidence, but he says this may sound a bit esoteric, but stay with me on it. You know the sort, the individualist, the archetype, Mailer's white Negro. The fella on the block, nobody knows him, a loner, antisocial, maybe a dark secret, something sinister, a scheme, a schedule, a sexual dungeon, that kind of thing. And I just thought that was that not necessarily a common reference point, that Mailer's white Negro. So I thought that was another sort of ventriloquist dummy moment of him getting a character to say that for him.
Yeah, and I guess that must be another clue as to this is the kind of thing I'm trying to invoke, folks. This is the 4 books I've read, Bukowski and Norman Mailer, and
sure.
So, but I didn't even look it up.
No, I'm not going to. But
I was still laughing over the jokes from the earlier thing.
Sarah Silverman had just washed her pair of Charles Bukowski's pants, laid them out, and then read that. I was like, oh, damn it. Back to the laundry.
Here's a sentence that I have a question for you afterwards. The only time the two of them had ever traveled together was when Bob had been hired by a Bolivarian state to orchestrate a Cinco de Julio pyrotechnic display from a barge off the Venezuelan island of Isla de Margarita. On a scale of 1 to I hate this more than the devil, how much would you say you hate that sentence?
I hate it a lot, but we get some real details about it later.
I know, that's what's so astonishing. Just these throwaway garbage, and then suddenly we zoom in on it. Like, no, we really didn't need you to zoom in on that.
Yeah, it's like something from the first Star Wars movie that they seize upon and are like, well, this is canon now. That music's called jizz, so now we have to invent a whole backstory for that nonsense. Like, let's make a whole movie about the world of the jizz whalers. Brother. But yeah, so we get an unintelligible passage where he goes back into the can and listens to Gabriel's oboe, which is a Morricone score from an 80s movie, I believe. I forget what it was called.
Was it The Mission, maybe?
Yes, it was The Mission.
Okay.
He gets into poetic passages about that, but I went and listened to it. I had not heard it before. I had not seen that movie, but I was surprised none of the there's the YouTube comments were stuff like one of them top ones was like, my wife loved this piece and my son learned to play it on the oboe right before she passed, and then he played it at her funeral. It was very moving. None of the YouTube comments mentioned the book Bob Honey Who Do Stuff.
I'm shocked.
Yeah, it did not. Because often you'll go there and you'll go to a song and it will be like, who's here because they heard this on, Dude Perfect, and like 8,000 likes.
Right.
But
I confess that I didn't pay much attention to this passage because I was distracted because he was on the toilet. He said from there he moves back to the closed toilet seat. And I was like, what kind of toilet? So I just, my mind could not focus. I was there trying to mentally picture whether or not it was a standard toilet.
Yeah, a Japanese one that senses your temperature and heats your buttocks accordingly, or a pink fuzzy seat cover. I'm baffled.
Yeah,
no information.
I can't even read any farther.
But
go ahead.
He gives us a line about branding. Branding is being born as the elderly drive us down, which at this point in time, I'm just sort of they're in one ear and out the other. But I feel it's worth noting the branding rants. Yeah,
we learn why in an upcoming station. But now we get to an interesting thing. As Morricone's flute is playing, he sees Annie in the marble dancing, I guess, and he says something to her. And I guess I'll just read a portion of it, and you'll get the flavor, and then I'll tell you. I did a little experiment with it.
Okay.
So he says to Annie, "I want to be drowned a little bit by the baby soft hair at the nape of your neck, the lenience of your lips in the sun. There's too much oxygen." He goes on about peeling bananas and vacuuming and everything. Yes. And this is like
bottom.
Yeah, this is his heart reaching out. This monster that we are coming to know is. He sees one bit of beauty, and this is his statement, his manifesto to his unobtainable love. Mm-hmm. And so I thought, I'm going to take this. I'm going to do a little experiment. I'm just going to call my wife Bridget and leave this as a phone message for her. And so I did that, and I want to just play you the results.
Little social experiment, sure.
Yeah. So here we go.
Hi, this is Bridget. Leave a message at the beep.
Hey, it's me. I want to be drowned a little bit by the baby soft hair at the nape of your neck, the lenience of your lips in the sun. There's just too much oxygen here. I need to know more about peeling bananas from the bottom, but I also want to do that in tropical places. There are these extraordinary feelings I get, Bridge, after vacuuming my house, but even they won't compare to you. You're too banging beautiful for words, and you are far too precious to ever see you hurt in any way. You will ever allow me to love you, I will. I'll be vacuuming till the next time I see you. Okay, get back to me as soon as you can. Thanks. Bye.
Hi, honey. I got like a really weird message from you, but I was busy, so I just erased it. Okay, I'll see you later. Oh, get your car. It's at the garage.
Yeah. So,
Wow.
so there you go.
I think you got off pretty easy. I think there could have been some repercussions if she'd actually listened to that.
It reminds me of the experiment on one of my other podcasts with Pastor Dave and I. You know Pastor Dave.
He doesn't leave that kind of message, does
No,
he?
no. We were talking about breadcrumbing, and so we both breadcrumbed our wives during an episode. We just went sup or something like that, and just both got back these like, I'm at the hairdresser. Don't bother me. Something like that. It was very similar. Like, stop being weird. What is this? Anyway,
Man. Well, yeah, that reminded me of something as well. I had been haunted by this movie scene since I saw it in probably high school, because it was something that I didn't understand then, and I didn't know if it was meant to be, like, if I just interpreted it wrongly. But there's a scene in Donnie Brasco with Pacino and Johnny Depp.
Sure.
Where I went back and found it, because it's been something that I've always thought about, because it just seems so off-putting and strange and it turned out it's like the first 6 minutes of the movie, he's just like in a phone booth and he calls his wife and wakes her up, and he plays the scene plays out thusly. Can we listen to it?
Hey.
Yeah. What?
Put the phone on your pillow. I want to listen to you breathe.
So he calls his wife, wakes her up, and then says, "Put the phone on the pillow. I want to listen to you breathe," which I imagine in any normal situation would get the reaction we've been, the maraschino cherry. Do you want a maraschino cherry reaction of what?
Yeah.
Oh my! Never call me again. Why is there a siren in the background? But
yeah, it would be who is this?
Yes,
it's me. No,
yeah.
Who is this?
No, if I go back to sleep, the phone will just be on all night. I'm not going to do that. The battery will run down while I sleep. But I posted that on Twitter yesterday, and it got the least response of anything I've ever posted. So I guess maybe people think that's romantic, and I'm just being a curmudgeon. I don't know. That's what his calling her to tell her he wanted to peel her like a banana from the bottom would get in real life. But we do end the chapter with with a poem.
Yes.
Which I'm afraid is, you read some of the lines earlier. I'm afraid this is not the last one. But I was going to read some choice excerpts from it. And then I have my own terrible poem that I alluded to last time. So I'll read his poem and then share with you some of mine. The part that stood out to me: the splitter, the splatter, the I love yous without any truths. Or does it matter? When everything is replaceable, all of us traceable, and memories erasable, nothing matters in vodka and tonic, in the absence of ironic, in exhibitionism so chronic. Ran into an Ogden there.
Yeah, you did. Exhibitionism.
Exhibitionism.
There you go.
Okay.
It's not an Ogden.
So yeah, that's very bad. But I like I said, I wrote a poem that's much longer than this. I'll upload the whole thing for people. I promise you this, but let me just read you how it started. So this was supposed to be bad. Injustice, life out of balance. I show my neighbor love, but he remains callous. Our differences amplified, magnified, then run up the flagpole and ratified. Take a number, file your grievance, place your hand on your heart, and pledge your allegiance. This just in just us. Huh? Right?
It's oddly superior to Sean Penn's.
It could fit. So that poem is about how I hate the Red Hot Chili Peppers. It gets there eventually.
Oh, that's very nice. Yeah, that's good.
It's well, I'll share that with everybody. But yeah, that's what you should think about as you read his poem. That took literally about 45 seconds to write something that bad, and I don't think it's that distinguishable.
I hate to bring this up. Speaking of his poetry, the beginning of his poem, remember please that he is sitting on the standard toilet. Well, actually, no, I don't know. The first line is the splitter, the splatter. So I just pointing out that
wow.
he's on the can. So that for a split second, my mind went there. And don't pretend it's something that he wouldn't do. So
no, not at all.
Don't accuse me of inventing that. Imaginary critic of me out there.
Yeah. He's driven out to the desert to burn stuff. Everything is on the table at this point in time.
Yes. All right, that's Station 7.
That is Station 7. Let's do fanfic before Station 8. All right. Our most popular segment. It has proven difficult this go around because we are not yet fully versed in the honeyverse, but we'll see if you do fare better this time. You've read, a quarter more of the book. Can you spot the real Sean Penn text from the ones that our fans have written?
Well, the challenge, as we noted earlier, is so he does one of those dumb sentences that you go, oh, God, get out of my face, becomes an entire chapter later. So anything is on the table here. So I'm scared.
Right. All right. So number 1, and you'll guess these in real time after we read them. From a perpendicular street came the marchers of many, not so much deplorable as the violently immature followers of the violently immature 70-year-old boy man with money and French vanilla cotton candy hair. They appear Aryan-esque with their yellow lives matter banners, and all with yellow blonde hair and eyes of Prussian blue. They chant, "Make America more yellow." Bob can't help but consider that the doings and don'tings of the day are less a political or cultural crisis than a cataclysmic crisis of the country's mental health. He makes up that it might be measurably mended by mandatory public service. If only every American might have or have had one marvelous moment in their young lives as living proof that they matter. Instead, he is reminded of Big Bob Dylan decanting, "The sun isn't yellow, it's chicken."
Oh, wow. The only thing that gives me pause is I would try to think of the timing, but I guess the timing does work out. I don't know. I'm going to say it's real.
All right. Are you identifying these in real time?
Yeah.
Okay, that one was real, yes.
Oh, wow. Okay.
That one's real. So, yeah, we're in for that. Bob Dylan is like, please do not.
Yeah.
Man, that was 50 years ago.
Right.
Number 2. Bob lets his ever-engaged eyes engorge at the be-hair-netted blubber-bosom beauty before him. He joyously jeers her jubbly jugs. He tactlessly turns a timorous tear duct to the titan-tastic tits. He mentally minds the mythical movements and motions of the mollifying mounds of milky memories, making massive mountains from the molehills of her midriff. Honey, her lumpy, love-licked lilac lips lisp, "What do you want on your taco?"
Well, that's fanfic, but it's good.
Yeah, that was fanfic. That was fanfic by Steven. It is good. But yeah, again, just like it's like 10% more than it needed to be.
Yeah, he could get there, though, is the thing. And right. he kind of does. We have some characters coming up that will boggle.
Yes. Number 3, Bob likes Venus, the planet, the razor, the sculpture. Bob imagines what it would be like to take the sculpture to the planet and then use a razor in 0G. There's a footnote. 0G, the condition of apparent weightlessness not generally exhibited by Bob's ex-wife, both on his face and on the sculpture. Maybe it could be improved, the sculpture, not his face. Bob knows his face can't be improved beyond his current emotional, psychological, and pyrotechnological visage. The average homogeneous human hyper-consumer can only understand art as entertainment, face shaving as branding, planetary exploration as further resource commodification and corporate expansionism. The planets are full of rocks and gems and ores, and they aren't full of bureaucrats and divorce lawyers and ice cream trucks. Bob would go to Venus gladly. Afghanistan is more alien than Venus could ever be. But first, he has to go to the toilet.
That's a good parting word there. I'm going to say that's fanfic.
That is fanfic by Chris, but man, he has to get into some headspace to write that, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I think you just go into a fugue state and you can do it.
Maybe Chris is like, no, it's actually surprisingly easy to write this garbage. But I mean, that had some threads and themes to it, and very well done with the toilet as that rears its head.
Yeah.
Number 4, as the two men stare into each other's reflections through the blur of Java steam, the old timer initiates conversation in intermittent mountain twang. "At least you don't strike me as one of them hipster herbivores." "Who are you?" Bob asked the man. "I'm Pappy Pariah of Kerstetter, Kentucky, son. Pastor to the Argod Applied Appalachian Archdiocese. I'm the one telling you your story and intend to continue right after my coffee." "My story?" Bob asks. Well, don't worry about that, replies the man. That undernourished nymphomaniac over there just poured my coffee hot and black. But don't tell her I said that.
Wow. Now I'm going to say that that's real, and because of the upcoming dialect, I believe that he's trying to write dialect again. So I'm going to say that that's real.
That is real. The pseudonym of the audiobook, Pappy Pariah, is a self-insert into the book later on, evidently.
Wow.
I think he's sort of like, to call it back again, I think he's sort of Sam Elliott sitting at the bar at the bowling alley with the Big Lebowski.
No doubt. Wow, we get Pappy. This is going to be great.
And then the last one is... This was the mass media's magnum opus of mediocrity, whirling and purling words devoid of pith and feck. The minds of Maricopa, amidst the insipid baccata, flow and flounder along with those pendulous meanings. But a discerning few could still see through these ructious recitations, and Bob counted himself among that ever-dwindling circle.
I'm going to say fanfic only playing the odds.
It is fanfic. Tom H. wrote that. You were 5 for 5 this
Woohoo! Yeah,
wow.
Didn't even have my pencil.
No, man, that's a rarity. Well done, everybody. Those were some. If they weren't as tricky, they were very entertaining.
Yeah, it's more fun to listen to fanfic than his own stuff, quite honestly.
Right. Well, yeah, just fun to see how replicable it is, and how, I don't know, just how stupid it is. I mean, it's just a pattern, and again, like I said, 10% more maybe, but
yeah, right. Well, choo-choo, sound the whistle and pull out of the station and head into Station 8.
Insect Homicide 2016.
We do get a lot of insect homicide in this, so no false advertising here.
Sure. It's what I like is when we get the so we've heard that Pappy Pariah is going to make an appearance. So now I like hearing the fan fiction, and then you're wondering how it integrates into the story as much as there is one. But last week, one of the fanfics was this one: advertising, Bob's albatross, his burden least benign, its way of sanctioning ego and deceit, the transparent greed of it, its saturation of popular imagery. So we read that off last week, and now we get the context of it, which is it's a flashback to the moment of his mother's death.
Yep. The reason he hates marketing is because there was a perfume ad on while his mother had a brain aneurysm.
Erotic perfume.
Yes.
Not to be confused with, I guess, I don't know, White Diamonds or something, Elizabeth Taylor's perfume.
Yep. But I don't know what erotic perfume is, but...
Nope.
But there it is. That's why, I guess this is supposed to be the linchpin. This is the cornerstone. This is Bob's.
It's Rosebud moment. Yeah.
Yeah. We've hit bedrock with Bob, and it is that moment where he was, a perfume commercial.
And his dad was asking his wife if she wanted the perfume while she was drifting away, I suppose, which maybe that was just him comforting her. I assume he was not that obtuse.
Yeah, she's going, he's going, what?
Honey,
what? You want some
please.
perfume?
Yeah, okay, sure. I'll call right now. It is a 2-for-1 offer if I call within the next 30 minutes. Honey, please stop flatlining. It's hard to hear the number.
Oh, so then he expounds upon that. But then I have a lot of dumb sentences from this, so I'm sort of holding back a little bit.
Okay. Well, I'll read you what I've got. He goes back to, believe it or not, to harp on his ex-wife.
Yeah. And, wait, he doesn't have fond thoughts of her?
Well, it's so he has these hideous memories, but then in the present world, evidently some good things are happening for her, because it says Bob's ex-wife's ice cream vending business has become a sensation. She's done interviews and has her picture in the local paper, bought herself and her lover a big fancy house on the upscale side of town. And I said, so far, this is the most stunning thing in the book. She has ridden a ice cream man business to home ownership and sensation. And the one thing it reminded me of was the line in the Elton John song where Levon sells cartoon balloons in town. Yes. The family business thrives.
I was a fan of that song when I was young, and that one always sort of was the raspberry seed in my wisdom tooth, as they say. Like, what is going on there? What is this business?
It does thrive, like the people are so concerned by what a cartoon balloon is that they're like, yeah, I guess I'll just take 10 and maybe that'll tip me off to what they even are. Like,
yeah, and it has to be franchised, right? You can't, the guy who is holding a bunch of balloons at the zoo in Manhattan, he's not himself making it's not thriving, right? There's not enough volume there, so
right, that's what makes it so curious. Yeah, unless he's like bought back into the Mylar factories and so now has a stake in them all across town. But
yeah, and the conceit here, the reason he's doing this is because the music from the trucks, which apparently are everywhere, he says he can't escape that sound of the ice cream trucks. So and later he sees her driving. They lock eyes for 1, 2, perhaps 3 minutes or whatever later on. So she's driving around like, man, if she's that big, like, delegate for the love of God. Why are you still driving the trucks?
Sure, it could be just like an undercover boss thing where she just like maybe she drives a different one every day just to be like, oh, this one's the tire's a little flat, like the fridge needs to be 2 degrees colder type of thing. Yeah. But man.
Here's a sentence that really bothered me enough that I drilled down on a little bit, and I got a big beef with this one. He said he's hoping to have that impulse plussed, Plussed. Okay. And I looked at that. I'm like, I don't think. I mean, there's a word nonplussed.
Nonplussed.
I'm 99% sure there's no word plussed. So I looked it up, and now I'm going to quote from vocabulary.com. It says, interestingly, there is no word plus.
Wow.
So rarely do you get that kind of 100% confirmation.
That's incredible.
Yeah. So he's doing the Edgar Allan Poe and making up words now. And that one annoyed me.
If we're divulging into Ogden Nashian nonsense verse, I am not going to be happy about that fact.
No.
That's like a 90s stand-up routine being like, what's up with things being plussed?
Yeah.
You hear a lot about things being non-plussed, but you're never walking down the street being like, well, this has got me awfully plussed.
Yeah, it reminds me of
what I'm talking about.
They used to parody on SCTV. They parody George Carlin. I think Rick Moranis did it. And it was like, you can get knocked out. Can you get knocked in? Weird.
Oh man, we watched a George Carlin. I wouldn't call it a stand-up bit, but we watched it in Nashville last year. Well, I'll post a link to it if we can find it. But he was doing very Bob Honey-ish poetry.
Oh, we
talking about?
We played that in our entirety on the other podcast. On Like Trees Walking. It's for our own amusement.
What is it called?
I can't remember. It's about technology. It's basically I'm plugged in, I'm turned on, I'm switched off, I'm in and out, and it goes on for like 5 minutes, and it's one of those where there's no laughs anywhere in it except at the end you get the, whoa, he got through it all. He said a whole bunch of words that kind of go together.
Oh no, but yeah, we'll post that on the social accounts because it's, now that I think about it, it's very much like this. Wow.
Yeah.
And again, something you could parody in a solid 5 minutes of work.
So we get the poem. I don't know if you have any notes on the poem.
I put some notes down. Yeah, I did. Well, my first note was another very shitty poem.
Yes.
And the first note was cacophonous castration is such a fuckless bore. Words like interviews and phoners, and again, Crocodile Dundee moment, Rappin' Granny moment. He could have rhymed phoners with boners and opted not to. And it, it just keeps whiffing on these potential home run moments.
Yeah, that's not where my mind went, but now that you've pointed it out, I can see. Yeah, I should have known. What is going on with Bob Beam? That is the hyphenated word. That's her name for him. Annie's name, and he repeats it a number of times. Oh, my Bob Beam, which is very hard to say in the mind, and it's hard to get her. Like, what is she trying to call him? Sunbeam, but it's Bob Beam.
You are my Bob Beam, my only Bob Beam. I don't know. I'm not a big fan of Andy. He seems awfully he seems awfully smitten, but nothing I'm getting is making me think that she was someone I would have tolerated.
No, she does not come across as appealing at all. So after that, let me see what else notes that I have. Oh, he talks about Bob's life, almost less human than dog, is a life lived as his own pet. He takes himself for walks, roams into adventure, and protects his master. One could always count on a dog to follow his nose. No word here on whether his own breath is yeasty or acrid or whatever it was.
Right. Yes.
I don't know. The dog theme here bothered me as well. But
Yeah, it depends how big of a dog he is. I suppose that's the only way to tell.
and
But
so,
he's walking along here. Got the very helpful note. Bob stepped with his right and then his left, which is traditionally how people have walked over the years.
yeah, this one when he was doing that, I was picturing old timey cartoon Bob, like do 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 do.
Yes, he doffs his cap at somebody and then whistles.
Yeah, he mumbles to himself Popeye style. Oh, a fire hydrant here.
Well, yeah, he is humming something as he walks down the street because the trees are singing John Lennon to him. He says, as trees often do, or something. But they're singing a song called "Working Class Hero," which is it's like from Lennon's emo period, because it's the kind of lyrics that when you hear them written out, it's sort of like a Bob Dylan Masters of War song. But he has lyrics like, "A working class hero is something to be when they've tortured and scared you for 20 odd years, and then they expect you to pick a career." It's sort of like a Dr. Seussian "Oh, the places you'll go," but in a bad way.
Yeah, and Patriots pound cakes drowned the dreams of coital comfort joys.
Eee.
Is that really John Lennon? I guess it is. Wow. Let's see what other notes.
That might have been a Bob Honey.
That's what I thought it was Bob Honey, because it is Little Bobby's broken toy. That's what I used that as a coronet thing. So if I'm wrong, I apologize to John Lennon, but that's pretty bad.
Sure.
That's pretty bad.
But yeah, so he does encounter his wife again in her truck, and he locks eyes with his ex-wife, cruising the next block in her ice cream truck, thawing liquids leaking languidly from her cargo cabin. I thought she was running a successful ice cream business, but I guess she just has trailing melted ice cream across the entire town. She pauses at the intersection, glaring at Bob. So all right, just in real time, going to be a pleasant visage, or is it going to be a death rictus here?
I think it's a description that's going to make that tutu-wearing granny seem like a vision from heaven. That's what I think.
Hers a face that creates and collects ignorance, arrogantly assimilating it as common knowledge. Her expression on this day is fraught with the same disgust she showed whenever Bob chewed the ice of his cocktails on their evenings out.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I guess if Bob is his liquor intake only solely served as a delivery system for his interest in ingesting ice. And now she sells ice cream for money. Funny.
Yeah, I finished that and went, no, it's not.
No.
It's not ironic. It's nothing. It's just crap.
But she's like glaring at him because he's chewing the ice of his cocktails, which is, she's clearly a sympathetic character because she was married to Bob, regardless of prominent boogers. But like, it seems like she might be in the right here.
Well, yeah, he's also drinking. Is there?
Right.
He's drinking maraschino cherry water, and now he's got an alcohol drink only for chewing ice. Like this guy, she clearly had his number. This guy is an idiot and a monster, and best be done with him.
Right, before he burns you alive or wills a helicopter to crash into your ice cream truck.
You passed over it. I'd just like to shine a little light. Hang a lantern on that stupid thing of melted ice cream draining from the truck. Like,
Sure.
what is he doing there? That annoyed me. It's like, so I'm having to do the work of, well, she's super successful. She's probably going to be at the head office. So someone's truck started breaking down and she's hands-on. So she ran down to the truck and, brought it back into the shop herself or something because that guy maybe crashed it into a pole and he's in the hospital. Like,
oh, man, to read that book.
Yeah. But I was like, that's the kind of work you have to do to go, what is he talking about? What? So she's driving a broken truck, but she apparently doesn't know it because then he sees her on the next block too. So she's not driving away. Anyway,
Right.
It's just a detail that annoyed the hell out of me.
Incontinence metaphor, perhaps, like just another like gross,
Yeah.
I don't know.
And by the way, I fully confess, I stopped reading the footnotes at this point.
Oh, wow.
So any notes about that, I will not have. I skip. It's like the songs in Tolkien. I no longer read them.
Sure, just like look for when they're over. You did not miss much. I think there was maybe one that I cited later, but it was they are not adding anything to the book. I mean, the footnotes in Infinite Jest, sometimes they would contain whole little like subplots or something, and people, that's also quite annoying. But they at least have things that are, easily could be their own chapter that add to the universe of the book and make you appreciate things, have clever things. But these are often just, evidently wildly inaccurate, like scientific details.
Yeah. There's they add nothing, zero, nothing, and they get worse. I think he started with it as a technique to be, highfalutin, and then he just. Now it is like just a textbook or something, and there's no reason to read them.
No, but it ends with a comparison of her. He calls his wife the love child of unobtainium and transparent aluminum.
Mm-hmm.
And so I obviously knew unobtainium because that's what they're trying to mine in Avatar. So that's a truly bizarre reference. But then transparent aluminum, people wrote in and said was a Star Trek thing. It's what they're trying to get in Star Trek 4. Which I think
that's right.
I don't know what that's what they build the tanks for the whales out of. So a bizarre pull here.
Very, very bizarre. And not a reference you'd expect from Sean Penn.
No, he's humorlessly watching Star Trek 4 on his way to meet with El Chapo or something, taking notes for his novel. I don't know.
So at the end of the chapter, he it has a magnetic attachment to a dog who leads him into an alley, and so that's quite a way to end a chapter. Is him following a dog, and he gets hit in the face with a newspaper or something. Yeah. The morning news, and chapter close. We're done. Yes.
Sometimes the news will just do that to you, man.
Yeah. So let's pull into Station 9, our final chapter.
Station 9, religious tourism. I wish that, when Jake Cardigan had been lured into an alley, we would at least suspect that there was a chance he might die or something, but not with Bob. He just, seen, wake up in Bolivia.
Yeah. So here we are, that previously mentioned Isla de Margarita in Venezuela, where he runs firework displays for the dictator, whoever the leader is.
Yeah, so he's doing they're having a week-long national quinoa festival, which I think is another moment to sit back and appreciate the joke.
Yeah. Again, is it the moment where you go, Do you laugh a little through the nose? Is it one of those? Like, right. Can you imagine a national quinoa festival?
That is a grain that has seen a sudden uptick in popularity over the past 7 years at those health food type of stores.
Yeah, I get it. I see what you're doing, Sean Penn. Then we get the odd thing, a wanted poster of a Hasidic Jew from Brooklyn who'd been imprisoned on a bogus money laundering charge. So again, joke.
I wondered if he used our character generator, first of all, because that sounds like it could be up there. And I wondered, did the wanted poster specify that the money laundering charges were bogus?
I wonder. That's a good question.
He's wanted for trumped up charges that we made up. Like, seek him out, please. Reward.
Gets a little Kleinian here where he says, it was strange to see a man with a yarmulke and sidelocks on a South American wanted poster. In other words, we didn't know that it was strange when he said that there was a poster for a Hasidic Jew from Brooklyn on a tree in a Bolivian jungle. Oh, is that strange? Oh, now that you mention it, it kind of is strange.
So that is strange. It is something that seems like it could have been our character generator. Someone wrote in to let us know this is based on a real incident.
Of course. I figured there was something, but I did not want to look it up. So tell me.
So it's the headline, Orthodox Jewish captive Jacob Ostreicher recounts how Sean Penn nursed him back to health in his own home. So this is like he gets these things where he wants to go and either help earthquake victims or meet with El Chapo or get this guy. I'll just read some of the article. Penn made Oestreicher's health a priority when he visited the Jewish New Yorker in the notorious Bolivian prison in which he was held. When he met Oestreicher in Bolivia, the captive weighed less than 110 pounds. Sean's first question was, when was the last time you saw a doctor? I told my lawyers had been working for the last 6 months to try to get me some medical attention. That very same night, Sean came back with a doctor by his side, and in 48 hours, he had to be transferred to a hospital. I can't get into the details of the next year and a half or how difficult the road to freedom was or how many times Sean saved my life, but suffice to say, he literally dropped everything for a fellow American halfway across the planet, even to the point that Sean himself had to flee Bolivia.
Oh, brother. All right.
So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, so this is sort of what happens in this chapter. He helps this guy escape, and evidently it's autobiographical. And I don't know how. I didn't read the article. I just scanned it for an excerpt to compare it to. But I don't know what we're supposed to take away, because that's commendable if he did that. But it's also very strange, and it's a sort of thing you read about. A celebrity's guy leaks, a PR guy leaks to the press in order, after he punches the paparazzi.
Yeah, it strikes me as, his own myth building. If I'm going to write these weird books with odd details, maybe I should live a few of them or something, give it authenticity. There was some character who was the head of a network. I won't get too detailed about it, but he was an enfant terrible. He was a super success right away, and then he got fed up with the success, and he worked at McDonald's for like 2 years.
Wow.
And so the network had to go to McDonald's and order Happy Meals and go, would you consider coming back? And so he did, and then was the head of the network again. I think he ended up getting drummed out because he was such a weirdo. But anyway, that detail always annoyed me. Like,
right.
Is it really true? Really? Or are we building a myth for this guy?
Right. Sure. Was he chopping wood at the McDonald's when they asked him to come back to?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't want to focus on that too much, because if you start to think about the man, we'll just find all sorts of rabbit holes and weird stuff like that. But it is a detail, so we got to mention it.
Yeah. So he gets on his barge that he used to make the fireworks displays, and he takes it out in the ocean. I think he describes it as a barge, right?
Yeah, he says, after Bob once again impressed a presiding figure with fireworks. And so I was just like, all right, how good are we at setting off fireworks or selling ice cream? Like, it's like being a very famous, break dancer or something. Like, there are levels to how good your firework display can be, to the point where you're the guy that dictators are calling in all across the world. But he opts to make his way back to the port town of Arica in northern Chile to raise a sail on the barge and take it by sea north back to California.
Yeah.
So this is where I realized that, like, Bob Honey is essentially like, he's like the serial killer Forrest Gump. He just has these, it's like, and then Bob Honey, went and met the president of this country, and then he found himself, catching the winning pass of Super Bowl 13, and then he, wandered on stage as Dylan was plugging in at Newport. Like, it's like, what? But he is at least Forrest Gump had a personality.
Yeah, this begins to just annoy, like, all these details. And then later when they talk about his, his CV, whatever, his travels and everything, it becomes, impossible to imagine that he was at these places. So it's just Sean Penn being, trying to make him, uber weird.
Right.
But here, speaking of Klein, there's another one here.
I got a Kleinian. Yep, I hope it's the same one.
Armed with a tent, scuba dive kit, plenty of fuel, and an outboard, Bob would brave the swells and perhaps get in some choice diving. Well, you tell me, did he get in some choice diving?
Well, he does get in some choice diving, because there's a third Kleinian sentence, because he goes diving and it says, in the company of cluster wink snails, a Bralopopis squid, and the symbiotic bacteria of anglerfish, the ocean, it could be said, was Bob's only friend. It could be said. I mean, because you're saying it right now.
It was said. Is it true?
Oh, wow. Well, that's a trifecta. Those are nice.
Yeah. So there's a long description of him, diving and on bioluminescent creatures. And so this is another facet of Bob. He's like a very skilled diver, yes. Evidently. Yes. This fat blob of a hideous serial killer is a very skilled diver.
Right. And I assume that, like, doing a dive, solo and in the middle of the ocean is probably, like, very advanced in terms of the level of skill to like moor your boat and then like do all that is beyond what most people are ever doing. You probably do it in partners and stuff. So, but it's a good escape because down there are no billboards, no television, no Instagram messages, no Annie, and no ex-wife. And this was the point of the book where I started to wonder if Bob Hunt or Sean Penn owned stock in Snapchat because the Instagram distaste is coming fast and furious.
And now we get to a rather sensitive subject. I don't quite know how to handle this, but I will describe the character as it is given to us. He turned to see a frantic, water-drenched Jew pointing Bob's own spear gun directly at Bob. And then it goes pretty much downhill very quickly from there.
Yes. Yeah, he has his first line, which is, "Who Jew, DJU." There's a footnote, and the footnote is, "That is Jew speak for who are you?"
Whew. Ew, boy.
Yeah. So he speaks in his sort of phonetic pidgin Jew speak, Sean's Penn own words, and it's hard to read it once you read it for the first time as Jar Jar Binks. It's hard to read it as anything else.
I didn't go there. I wasn't at first. I was like, is he trying to do Jamaican patois? Like,
yeah,
what?
that's what it.
What is
you
this?
know that occurred to me, and yeah, then I was just like made that mental leap to. I tunneled out of the prison, ran into the jungle, ran through the trees to the road, then caught at the bush to the border, then at the beach. Master Obi-Wan.
Yeah, this is disturbing, especially given the footnote. I don't think there is any such thing or as Jews speak, and I'm obviously trepidatious to even say it, but that's that he has that a couple times I think in the footnotes.
Yeah, but yeah, so this is a character that we're going to spend some time with here, and this is evidently based on a pivotal moment of Sean Penn's life and a friend of his, this man he rescued, who is then transformed into Jew Jar Binks in this section of the story. He says, "I dog paddled like a dog." Bob's thought process inadvertently led to a private notion being shared aloud. "I feel like a dog sometimes," he said. These words seemed to calm the man. So he just met this guy who then, just out of nowhere, the first thing he says to him is, "I feel like a dog sometimes." And this calms the man as opposed to him like beating him to death with an oar like the talented Mr. Ripley.
Right. Yeah. And his final was, "I'm Fischl, Bob. Take me with you." And so with that, the buddy cop situation is fully formed.
Yeah.
And off they go on their wonderful adventure.
Yes. Where do they first find common ground? Here you go. Is it going to be about their shared love of the 1940s teams of New York Giants? Is it going to be about their surprising enjoyment of the Netflix series Orange is the New Black? No, it's about their ex-wives. Fischl whined on about the wife that had left him during his long Bolivian imprisonment. So yeah, I'm picking up on yet another theme here.
This is another term that I hate to read, but this is, quote, this is Sean Penn, "Though a non-swimmer, this dog-paddling Jew offered courage to the sea." It's just a phrase that it takes some courage to write that down and to publish it for the world to see.
Yeah, that's what that's not an offensive term, right? Like, but it is something that you would, I don't know. It is
to be used with caution, I would say. And
okay.
This is just from my acquaintances and friends who I've been able to ask about that. It just, you use it with caution is all.
Sure. Yeah. And, when you're piling it on here and, I don't know. Jew speak was the thing that stood out to me in terms of like, this seems to have recalibrated my compass for how he's using this word.
Yeah. So anyway, enough about that unpleasantness. Now we get to one of the most curious characters, I think, in all of literature, a chimera.
Yeah.
I can see her as nothing more than a literal chimera. He never says anything other than these monstrous qualities to this They surface, and there's another boat pulled up, and it's a drug lord's boat, apparently.
Yeah.
And they're having a party, and so there are floozies on the deck, and there's music playing. And
so I'm picturing like the Wolf of Wall Street, where he's just, he has, 24 of the most, beautiful models that he could possibly, because he's a drug lord, and that's who he hangs out with. But
no, what we get is Dirty Dancing atop the barge with a gyrating and bikini-clad curiosity of cryptozoology.
Yeah.
So Bigfoot,
yes. The Florida skunk ape.
Yeah, yes.
One of those guys that Richard Terry was hunting, like the demon bat of South America.
The New Jersey Devil. I don't know, but we get a little more description of her. She's holding tequila. She's a chimera-esque. So, what is it? Lion and dragon.
The lion, goat, and dragon tail. It's like a sphinx, but just with different. The slot machine came up with different things for the head, body, and tail.
Red lipstick smeared on her teeth. Shot of tequila high above her head. Seeing Bob swim toward the barge, her smile widened. A streak of lipstick on her teeth magnified.
The goat-backed lioness began to hoot like a bruxism bedeviled banshee.
So she's grinding her teeth and hooting at the same time. So yeah, I don't know what's going on here.
It was hard to imagine because the head of a lion, the middle of a goat. So it's not a flattering description, but she's partying with a bottle of tequila and a bikini. So like you assume that's something that a hot woman would do. But then he also says when they're climbing back onto the drug lord's boat, the man on the hull took note, pointing at the ladder where the bikini-clad chimera's cellulite sloveled its way up.
Yeah,
so it's like even when she's not being described as a goat, he finds it. He finds a way to indicate how gross she is. So I this is where I was like, can you dial back the descriptions of revolting women for a page or two? And I was like, I just want him in Station 13 to encounter someone like Jessica Alba, who's just universally considered beautiful, and have her be like, her face betrayed the agony of existence in every crag. It's like, okay, all right. She's on the cover of Shape magazine. I think she looks perfectly fine.
But not only that, she laughed with vagarious vulgarity. She's laughing, grinding her teeth, barking, and then she grabs his face mask and throws a shot of tequila into his mask. By the way, sloveled is a word like plust. It's just
really?
Yeah, there's
slovenly,
there's no such word.
I mean, that one at least conveyed if it's a made up word, it's a good one. It got across the what he wanted it to.
But hey, she gets a nice exit from the book, though, doesn't she?
Very much. So the drug dealer's boat is then fired upon by the Mexican army or the U.S. Border Patrol. We get some alliteration as a submerging deep worker disappeared the diminutive drug dealer into the depths, and the awful chimera. She sharded agave, shimmering spirits, and shifted shit-faced overboard, landing boozy, bird glass bleeding, feet first into a shiver of 50 frenzied sharks. Parenthetical. Adios, amiga.
Oh, God. That is awful.
Yeah. So, yeah, she sharts tequila overboard as she's falling into a feeding frenzy of sharks that they had lured there with chum, just because that's a thing you do on a drug dealer's boat.
How does he know, by the way, that since she is such a horrible monster that she just doesn't turn and just go through those sharks like nothing, opening her bruxism mouth and just chomping them down and killing them.
Right. And so did she shart through the bikini? How was that noticed that he was? So was that is the goat part of her the part that's anyway. So yep, she died as she lived, revolting us and not being sure what she looked like.
We skipped over a curiosity that if anyone can solve this puzzle, more power to him. So he's describing in his past he'd take days or weeks to dig 8 by 8 by 8 foot holes in a square. Worm-slicing, rock-cutting, water-revealing holes. He had found an affinity with the underground. Next sentence. And on this basis alone, the yacht fiesta was for him a bountiful, if bewildering, occasion.
Yeah.
What in the name of God does that mean?
I do not know what the whole aside was supposed to do in terms of how it fit into this party. I don't know if there was like a hot tub that they were hanging out in, like a swimming pool type of thing.
But on this basis alone. So the yacht fiesta, because he used to dig holes 8 by 8 by 8 in the ground when he was a kid, a yacht fiesta was for him. On that basis alone, his words. So anyway, go so to hell, Sean Penn.
I like the introduction to that was Bob had often thought to dig tunnels under his home. So that's fun. Someone who had listened to our last episode sent in something from a book David Cross wrote, where he was like, "Hey Hollywood," I mean, pretty much the exact same thing. He's like, "You want some quirks for your next Diablo Cody movie? Like, here's a list of them." So here are some of the ones David Cross came up with. Can swear in sign language. Lost virginity to mom's friend, who many years later killed herself. Records every phone call and has boxes and boxes of mini digital cassettes. Has a fake kneecap. Has never met a Jew. There's one. Can fart the alphabet. Went over Niagara Falls in a barrel. Was supposed to be on one of the 9/11 planes, but overslept. So that again shows how easy it is to come up with this nonsense.
Before we pass over it, I just want to point out that woman, the chimera, also was winged, because he says they drank from a bottle of tequila boasting the image of a winged woman resembling Fischl's dancing partner.
Wow.
So she also had wings. So she was goat-backed, had wings, and the bikini and all of that.
Yeah.
So again,
I can't help but imagine she's dressed up like the Victoria's Secret fashion show where they come out wearing like angel wings. And in my mind, she's probably actually attractive, and Bob Honey is just, imposing all this gross stuff on her. I don't know.
Yeah. Later he'll see her in the marble and she'll look different.
So yeah, they get picked up by the Border Patrol in San Diego. And then he sort of like lists he's grilling Bob about where he has been. He's been to Belfast, Egypt, Israel, Istanbul, Abbottabad, Peshawar, blah, blah, blah. Rwanda, Moscow. And it's like, he's Forrest Gump minus the intrigue. He just keeps winding up in all these places. He says something the guy is suspicious of because he's been to all these places. While Bob's areas of travel may have raised red flags, and the dates of travel coincided coincidentally with events of note in those regions, it seemed there was something about his benign character that afforded DeMille's surrender. And so that's more of the funny character name phenomenon. It's like, yep, he just keeps wandering into these places, the day after 9/11 or the day after they pulled down Saddam's statue. It's like, it's not a coincidence if you keep setting it up, man.
Right.
Even if it is supposed to be in the book, we don't know what's happening. But like, if he just keeps going to these places, like you're making him go there, and it's meant to instill it with meaning.
Right. And the person you're talking about who's interviewing him is Coco DeMille. And what do you think? Attractive, muscular, tan with a 3-day growth and
sure, it's San Diego, so yeah, he probably gets some time in the sun, rugged.
He was a slender, slightly wall-eyed man, and evening's bourbon permeated like hot breath from his skin, sour and unpleasant.
Oh man! Oh, so he's not on his way to coach his little league team, even though he doesn't have a kid on a team. He just enjoys giving back to the community.
Yeah, but Coco, he's not dumb, because he learns that he's been to Iraq, and he says, "What was your business there? You some kind of hotbed whore?" That's what I ask when people say, "Yeah, I just went to the Bahamas. It was a lot of fun." What are you, some kind of hotbed whore?
I just got back from Afghanistan. Hotbed whore, as you're regaining consciousness because the Marine had just punched you in the face. It's like, oh, that's more sensible. He was on active duty.
But yeah, so Coco, he's slightly suspicious, but he just tosses back his passport, because Bob does this little irritating, pretending not to know what he's talking about kind of stuff again, and non sequiturs. And so the guy's just like, "Oh, you scamp, get out of my office," kind of a thing, like, which is completely believable, of course.
The non sequitur that I had no idea what he was talking about. Bob says, "Do you know that Rwandans are pursuing major mining development? That makes sense. With the wonder that its own resources may be a curse coming its way."
Yeah, I didn't. I read that twice, and
I guess that's like the pearl. They're going to mine their own things and get diamonds, and then people will get rich, and then that
Yeah,
that's not
I know, but it's annoying.
Okay. But yeah, that's sort of what DeMille looks at is like, all right, seems like a straight shooter.
DeMille removed his bottle glass specs.
Nice.
We already know his opinion on eyeglasses, so
Right.
Yeah, and then I don't even want to read. I don't know if you have any notes on his being saucy with Coco DeMille.
Just the Bob's leaving, and he says, Coco says, "You're going to wait for your friend? He's still in interrogation." Bob stopped and stared blankly, and I'm just going forward. We will just assume that that's how he reacts to anybody. You don't need to tell us that is he once sat on the couch stopping and staring blankly for 3 hours after Herbie Coultier left. So we can make that assumption.
Yeah, but then other times there's like brief moments, maybe even in this interview where he's a bit of a bon vivant and he's making jokes and it like, what is happening? Here's a thing that annoyed me though. Bob was beginning to struggle with DeMille's dermal halitosis.
Ugh.
Yeah.
So he's just
the
body odor?
The bourbon stink that he referenced earlier. Yeah.
Oh, man. What a world he lives in. I'm glad we live in a world where people can be nice and attractive.
Yeah, and speaking of that fanfic with the which ended with the toilet, this chapter ends with something to me more revolting than a toilet. Do you know what the last line of this chapter is?
I do. It was like ending, man. It's like a season cliffhanger where they give you something so shocking and so unexpected, and then you're like, I have to wait until like next week to figure out what he meant by this. I think he's everyone's friend and in good hands with you. He'll understand if I go. Spiritual people do, said Bob. With that, he absquatulated.
With
End
that,
of scene, end of chapter, end of our reading segment for this week. So that was the one word I looked up this week. It means to leave abruptly.
But it kind of means that. It was the history of the provenance of this word is not that it's an actual word. It was made. It was invented, coined in a time where people were trying to make up silly words that sounded kind of Latin-y. So it was like a mini trend to, in a joking way, to come up with a Latin-y, highfalutin thing that was obviously just a joke, a jape, a jest. And
what a dark period of time for how people are entertaining themselves.
Yeah, it's worse than if your friends started punning, giving like, I'm really into puns these days, so you're gonna have to endure my. But yeah, for him to pull that one out, I don't know if he had knowledge of the provenance of the word, but either way, it doesn't matter. It is a revolting thing to do to your readers.
Yeah, not hearing that outside the context of the script spelling bee there should be no excuse.
Yep, but that's what he tips his cap on. He gives us that and leaves.
And I'm sure that is 100% intentional. That's what we're left with at the end of that chapter. Mm-hmm. Just it's got a spotlight shined on it.
It is a toilet of a sentence, that is for sure.
Standard?
Yes.
Oh man. Well, it didn't disappoint this go around either. But brother.
Yeah, it was a little bit. There's a bit of variation in this. I'll give it that. I didn't like the variation. I'm not. But it just. It wasn't just sentence after sentence of nonsense alliteration. Something did happen, obviously nonsensical happenings, but moved from one place to another.
Sure.
A little bit, a little. Again, the bar is low.
Well, I think that is good. Wraps up our recap, but we can move on to our dumb sentences.
A sentence begins with a capital letter. A capital letter is a letter that's big. A capital letter is not a small letter. A capital letter is big, big, big.
Mm-hmm. Sentence begins with Bob Honey, and then it's got a footnote that probably isn't true.
And then we absquatulate out of the room. No. All right.
All right. We got some good ones. This is from Ben. He's talking about looking at the wall while he's on the can. Marble, like sedimentary rock, holds greater truths than any man. Ben's comment was, What, an igneous rock doesn't? It's sort of just a slam. Right? Chris, the trees of treason and the worker bee ice cream trucks look down, superintending the landscape of Woodview, viewing Bob's Walk and broadcasting John Lennon, as sometimes trees do, in the unrevealed post-apocalyptic neighborhoods of the dwindling middle classes. Has a lot going on there.
Yeah.
The trees of treason is something that it's a little joke of his own that he explains.
Self-satisfied smile upon thinking of that.
Sure. Broadcasting John Lennon as sometimes trees do is very high school poetry as well.
Yeah.
A different Chris D. He sent in the one, Bob has spent enough time, in fact, thousands of hours studying animations of double rod pendulums and knows that in their aspiration to claim aerobic exercise, they are only cluttering the world further with chaos physics. And his comment was, thousands of hours, I guess time and media consumption in this book follow the same rules as Ready Player One.
Yes, indeed.
So he spent as much time as Wade Watts did watching Family Ties. The Colleen wrote, these are the extraordinary feelings I get, Annie, after vacuuming my house. But even they don't compare to you. And she writes, besides being just a really stupid joke, question mark, because she's not sure, it has all those extra commas we know and love. So he had a comma after get, after Annie, after house, after but. So four commas in that 14-word sentence. I'm
glad somebody else is carrying that flame. I felt alone in the comma thing, but good. Glad to hear it.
And then I had two. One was just the frank admission. I don't have a sexual dungeon, Spurley, which is just fun, much more fun to say it out loud. But the main one, this is when he's out there walking the dog or something. Behind decorative gabion walls, an elderly neighbor sits centurion on his porch, watching Bob with surreptitious soupçon.
Yeah, soupçon.
So a couple words in there that I would have to look up, but I didn't because I didn't care.
Yeah, soupçon just, I believe, means a hint of or a slight character of, a note of, I think.
Sure. Why not?
Are we ready for mine?
Yes.
Okay, mine's pretty brief. I'm surprised it didn't come up. Bob's passport sat pissing in the hand of DHS agent Coco DeMille.
I didn't even notice that. What?
Bob's passport sat pissing in the hand of DHS agent Coco DeMille.
Is there any chance it's like, since he came in, did he come in out of the water and it's like, draining liquid off of it?
I don't know.
I don't know.
I just think that would be a good sentence to hand someone and say, okay, now write a book. Follow.
Right.
That's your opening sentence.
Got to be in there somewhere. Man, that's amazing.
Wow. Well, there we go, I guess.
Yeah, we got some emails.
Okay, good.
A couple emails. Let's do it.
We're going to the party. We're going to the game. We're going to the disco. We're going to cruise out, man. We're stealing people's mail. Stealing people's mail.
We're squatulating. We're squatulating.
Speaking of squatulate, Jennifer says, this is the worst thing I have ever read. It's like someone got a thesaurus, shredded it, and then made a book out of it. The other books were bad, but they did have 3 acts. I have no clue what's going on. It makes me want to read about Plasglass, 80s video games, and CEO accounts. Please pick something that attempts at plot next time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Jeez, we're going through it too.
We didn't write it. And then we have one more from Tom H., who says, it is fun to think of some of the past books covered by this podcast being written by Pappy/Sean. And then he gives us an example. Clef Treble, the musically monikered maker of Incendiary Mischief, the proscribed and prevented paramour of Pam Valentine. Bam! Pow! 64 squares reduced to rubbish by his hand, but castigation casts a wide net. His nettled nemesis, Peter Graham, ably aided by amenable accomplices Henry Roy and Drew Gunn, are too long imprisonment decreed, all of them brought low by the actuarial acumen of one Titus Uno. All the while, the executive chief preposterously ponders, who's the sheriff of 64 squares?
Oh, bravo. I like that a lot.
That was a delicate dance. Nicely done, Tom.
That vastly improves my enjoyment. Perhaps of both books. Yeah.
Yes, it really does. It's fun to mash things up like that. More of those, please. But yeah, so I think that's all for this week. We have, we mentioned, I don't think we mentioned it last time, but the Patreon account is going strong. People are currently working on their Bob Honey memes. We're running a contest on there for your best Bob Honey memes. There have been some very funny ones so far. We will award the winners a prize and post to the rest once the contest is done. But we appreciate everyone who supports us on there. Patreon.com/372pages. Check it out.
I have a brief quiz for all of you. Connor, you can play along as well. The next chapter, the title, the next station. I'm sorry. Is it Sunshine and Daisies? Is it kittens who are beyond adorable?
Ooh, I'd read that.
Is it Sneezing Panda? Or is it Ballad of a Broken Man? He's only now getting around to telling us that he's a broken man. This takes a turn.
Sure. Yeah. It's everything had led me to believe that Bob was, a pillar of the community and just, entertaining people with his tie loosened at wedding receptions and stuff. But
played trombone in the church band and all that.
Yes, and Rudolph the Red-Nosed Pumper. Hey, there's a chance he might turn it around. So for next time, just to divide this into 4 equal sections. We're not going to stop at a chapter. I know that's unconventional. We're going to read up to page 121, so you'll know you're there, even if you're reading electronically. He meets Pappy Pariah, as we covered in Fanfiction, and then Pappy Pariah, spoiler, is going to give us a poem. So after Pappy Pariah's poem is where we'll cut it off this week.
Oh, I'm so glad we get Pappy in there, though.
Yeah, no, it's sort of not a coincidence. I really wanted to meet him and see how he influences the story.
Well, there you go. Thanks for joining us. Thank you, Patreon people.
Thank you.
Connor and I are going to absquatulate now. This has been 372 pages. We'll never get back. So long.